you see Ryan Clark's comments? If not, I can maybe a little bit summarize them for you.
Yeah.
He was talking about Brock Purdy MVP race, comparing him to Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. But then the curveball there to me was he also said that anyone, and I'm paraphrasing, but anyone with a brain right now would take Jared Goff over Brock Purdy. And that it was insulting to Ryan Clark's intelligence to have to even talk about him for that MVP race a couple weeks ago. Is that kind of clickbaity topics to get people riled up? Like, that just seems like an insane overreaction, especially considering 2 days ago, Ryan Clark did a segment on Jordan Love being extremely efficient in his first year. Brock Purdy did put up a better quarterback rating, and I know that's not QBRs and everything, than Jordan Love. Jordan Love also threw 2 interceptions, and although I do maybe would agree played better for the majority of the game, I think that Jordan Love, I don't know how to say that correctly, but shit the bed in the most important moment, and Brock Purdy, performed really well. Like, you'd rather have a quarterback play well at the end and win you the game than for 3 quarters. I don't know. I just felt like, considering his take on Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy is also kind of I don't know if you would consider him a second year, first year, but this was his first full season.
Mm-hmm.
Has a little bit more experience than Jordan Love, but not tons. So considering the grace that Ryan Clark had for Jordan Love, and then how insulted he was when Brock Purdy did have better, at least statistical numbers than Lamar Jackson, I thought it was fair he was in that conversation. I think it was fair he was compared to Dak for the Pro Bowl. And even if both of those people did, maybe are better quarterbacks, I think it's fine. Like, being in the conversation versus someone saying they are the best is different. I think it was totally fair for him to be in the conversation. And like I said, the thing that got me was anyone with a brain would take Jared Goff over Brock Purdy. I don't agree. I think that once again, it's fair to have that conversation. I'm not saying Brock is 1,000% better, but I think Ryan Clark was making it sound like Jared Goff is 1,000% better, and I don't think that's a fair takeaway either. How did you feel about that entire segment? Because you said you heard it too.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the shorter soundbite of just him talking about how he pretended that Lamar and Josh Allen and Brock Purdy belonged in the same conversation. The only conversation they belonged in was the MVP conversation. That's it. And Brock Purdy 100% deserved to be in that conversation because of the stats that he was putting up with his team. Now, and that's kind of what I've been saying, or what I had been saying the whole time. He deserves to be in the conversation at the very least. Was I going to pound the table and be like, he has to win it over this player? Like, sure, I'd make the argument back and forth, but like, if someone didn't agree with that, like, that's fine. But like, for someone to just say flat out that Brock Purdy didn't deserve to be in the MVP conversation is just wrong. Like, because he did statistically and based on the way he was playing. Now, like, a separate conversation, if people want to have a separate conversation of does Brock Purdy belong in the elite conversation, I think I've been saying it's too early for that. Like, it's too early for that. So those to me are 2 completely different conversations. So maybe, Ryan, confused the 2, or I don't know, but I wouldn't put them in the same conversation as far as like talent. And I think as the season went on, by the time the season finished, I think I would probably agree, like, Lamar, probably the MVP for his team, right? But Brock Purdy, for as long as he did deserve to be in the conversations. And as far as the Jared Goff comments, the only reason Jared Goff looks good right now is because he's behind like one of the
best offensive
lines in all of football right now. And that'll make everyone always look good. Remember Dak behind his O-line? Like, I want to see Brock Purdy behind an offensive line like that. You see how good he cooks.
Everyone always says, like, I want to see, in a way of diminishing Brock Purdy's success. They kind of talk about like, oh, well, how would he look on a different team? That's like a big, when trying to grade Brock Purdy, we have to consider he has, all these offensive weapons, an elite play caller, all that. One thing he does not have, and that has been a huge, because Ryan Clark said that he hasn't lifted anyone of his team up, which I think Brandon Aiyuk would have a problem with, and George Kittle. They both are having career years under Brock Purdy. But also, I think he's lifted the team up in the way that his physical mobility is an asset. And if you were to switch Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, and I think Jared Goff has we could say he has a stronger arm, but I don't think he has that escapability at all. And I think that's fair to say that Brock Purdy has. And I think he would have taken way more sacks. There's way more plays that would not have been had if Jared Goff and Brock Purdy were to have switched this year. I do not think the 49ers would be in the same place, or if they would be, it would have been a different way, because at least with Brock Purdy behind center as this quarterback, they have very much utilized his ability to escape pressure when that offensive line breaks down. And it has been a huge asset to the team and the team's ability to advance to where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely made his offensive line look better. That's for sure. And maybe even the defense, honestly. Like, I mean, just the fact that the 49ers have gotten into early leads much of the season. I mean, that helps the defense. It puts them in a favorable position. In the past, you wouldn't have really had that if you think about it. So I think Brock makes a lot of facets of this 49ers team look better.
I completely agree. Now, I want to, because I do know you have your show coming up, and there was a comment that kind of transitions us into this last topic. I think it was by Rick Diaz, and he said something like, how do you expect the 49ers to come out on Sunday? Do you think that they'll look any better against the Lions? Brock Purdy himself. How do you feel about this matchup? I think as little as maybe a year ago, we could have looked at this game how we did going to the Packers game. I know the Packers game ended up being closer, but I feel it's funny because I think there's such a narrative around the Lions that even saying like, hey, like this is going to be a scary game. There's going to be some fans that are like, the Lions. But when you watch them play, I don't know if you watch them against Tampa and you've watched them all year round, and just their progression under Dan Campbell, I do think they bring a physicality to the game that is something that is very respectable. I know we were kind of talking about Jared Goff's mobility. I really hope that the defensive line, which is also something Rick Diaz brought up, I hope the defensive line gets home better. Jared Goff cannot escape, so if they can do that. Now, they do have an incredible running back. They have an incredible tight end, and
they have two incredible running backs.
And St. Brown was in that same conversation. People argue he's up there with Brandon Aiyuk and a very underrated wide receiver. So they have offensive talent. They're really struggling on defense in that secondary. They signed Emmanuel Mosley. He got injured, but they've picked up defensively a little bit. Still struggling in that area. Mostly an offensive team, in my opinion. But quick, just your little elevator pitch on how you feel going into this Lions matchup that's going to be happening on Sunday.
Yeah, I haven't dived too deep into the Lions as a team and just like them statistically this season and all that, but I do know their pass defense is not as good as the Packers was. So I think the 49ers, I think, are going to be able to find some room to get guys open. The one concern is, of course, Deebo. And if Deebo doesn't play, that definitely, I think, hinders, the team a little bit. But, we saw the team come through without him last week. So maybe they kind of needed that to know that they can win without Deebo. And that helps their confidence as well going into it if he is unable to play. But, I think it might be a tougher day for Christian McCaffrey running the football. They do have a good run defense. So, maybe if Kyle does have Brock throwing 39 times again, it will probably be a better result than it was last week, because we're also not expecting any rain either. So I think the 49ers are going to be able to find success through the air, get chunk plays, and hopefully they come out a little more aggressive on defense as well.
Completely agree. Last question, and then I'll let you go. I know I already said that, but 30 seconds, elevator pitch once again. Jake Moody, how do you feel about him? I don't want them
mean,
kicking.
I'm
I don't
not
want
too
them kicking.
I'm not too
You're
concerned
not
about
concerned?
Jake Moody, actually. I mean, what did he
Oh,
do wrong?
tomato, tomato.
What did he do wrong? I get what he did, last time he missed, okay, but he nailed a 50-yarder in this game. That was clutch. You saw what the Packers kicker, other rookie, wasn't able to do, right? So I think I needed him to hit a kick to know that he got the butterflies, whatever was going on out of the way. All right. And he did it
Okay.
in the rain and with some wins. So I do feel good about Moody. I think the Packers defender who got way up that he dude was up there
Yeah.
to block that kick. And I know some people are like that kick
It
was gonna
looked
be
like it
missed.
was not going to go
That
in.
kick looked like it was gonna be missed anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But yeah, I
I
think
guess we'll never know.
I'm not too worried about Moody. I think it was big that he hit that 50-yarder like that. I think got his confidence in a good spot right now.
Perfect.